Welcome to the recorded workshop session for the Business Management Distance module.
So, as we are continuing now, you will find that we are now looking at Learning Unit 6. It is now the introduction to business. I will just abbreviate this. So, if we are now looking at business management, now looking at business management, there's something that is actually very important. This is just an introduction. Now, one thing you should understand is you can actually notice that I'm a bit rushing on what I'm doing. I'm just giving an overview, a summary of the most important things. Why? Because this is just a workshop. Why? Because we are not meeting, we don't have so many hours of contact session because this is our mode of study. But it doesn't limit us as to the quality of what we are going to learn. Most of these issues and questions, we can pose them on the forum, that discussion forum that we are going to come up with. And then after that, we can discuss and have further questions and other discussions regarding the issues that we are doing. Now, one thing that is also very important is when you are starting to talk about business management, one thing you should understand is that management is everywhere. We see it everywhere. But one thing that is important, first things first, is what is the role of management? First things first. Now, management has evolved over time. Now, it has evolved over time, and one thing you should understand is management, it directs the business. Now, every organization has got a goal. It has got something that is aiming to achieve. So when you are actually involved in management, what does it assist you? It assists the business in directing them towards a goal. Another aspect also that is also important, that it keeps So another aspect is that it keeps the operations of a business on a balanced course. Another important thing for the role of management, which is also very important in our textbook, it has been explained thoroughly and on page 168. And if you look at another role also, it's that it actually enables, it also enables the business to scan and adapt to its environment. Right, that is another role. Another role is also enables the business to scan and adapt to its environment. You need to see what is happening in your environment and be able to adjust to it. Now, one thing from management, one thing you should understand is that management now is a process. First principles, first things first. Management is a process. Now, since it is a process again, we can say that it starts from planning, right? You can actually present it like this. It starts from planning, right? From planning, there's organizing, leading, and then controlling. Right. So since we said that it's a process, one thing from now on, what we are going to do right up to the time we are going to finish, we are going to look at planning in detail. And then we shall also look at organizing in what? In detail. We shall also look at leading in detail and also look at controlling in detail. Now, since we say that management is a process, you need to understand it. Now, sometimes you might be doing all these 4 things at the same time. You are planning one thing. At the same time, you are now organizing it. The next thing is you are taking the leadership role to ensure that everything goes on well. And there is also the other aspect of controlling. So one thing that you should understand is it involves these 4 tasks. 4 tasks of management. Others can actually say, talk of them as the 4 tasks of management. They can also ask you, what is the management process? So even in your definition, if you are to define management, we can now say management is a process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling the resources of the organization to make sure that you reach your stated goals. That's a simple definition of management. Now, one thing also that is very important is you need to understand that there are levels and functional areas of management in business. Now, there are different levels that we have in management, and they are into 3, which are top management, we have top management at the top here. Now we can actually let me present it as it's actually most books and authors, they present it as a pyramid and with 3 layers. Now at the top here, we have top what? Management here, and then here you have a middle, management, and then we also have lower management. Now, looking at who would constitute the top management. Now, we're looking at the pyramid. We are saying at the bottom layer here, so you say that at the bottom layer here, you have at the bottom layer, you have lower management, right? And it's so many of them. That is why it is at the bottom like that. And at the middle here, there are quite a few. These are supervising the lower managers. And here we have the top management. Top management would constitute right, top management here would actually constitute the board of directors, it will also constitute the CEO here. So these are the two groups that will constitute top management, but it will depend with the company. As also with low middle management, this would involve say various directors, like director operations, director human resources, director finance, the head of finance, the head of this. And then we also have lower management. This could be the maybe manager, senior manager, manager finance, manager HR. This could be manager sales. It will depend with the organization. But one thing you should know is with the lower management here, there are so many. It's many of them. And here there are quite a few. And here it's even less. A few people that are there. So this is what we would call the hierarchy. But one thing we should understand, is that each and every organization is unique. And it will have different type of job titles, different people who are up there. Now, one thing you should understand again is we have different areas, right? And we might also have what we call functional areas, right? Depending with the organization, most organizations would have a marketing department. Marketing is an example of a function. Sales is an example of a function. Human resources is an example of a function. Another area, another function would be finance. Another function, depending with your organization, is purchasing and supply. Sometimes you might call it the logistics department. You might also have the administration. So this is what we call functional areas. In each and every company, there are these areas highlighted somehow. So you discover that when we are looking at organization, we shall also come back to this functional areas when we shall look at organization in the next learning unit. But you discover that if we were to go back to slide number 10 there, where we talked about the different the different levels of management. One thing you should understand that each and every level has got a certain skill that is required of that kind of manager. Now, if you are to come back here, you will discover that at the top there, we have what we call conceptual skills. Conceptual skills. So we also have in the middle here this type of skill which is called interpersonal. Sorry. Right. One thing that is also very important is in line with each and every manager level of management requires a special skill that a manager is supposed to exude. A manager is supposed to show. So if you are a lower management manager, and you might be a manager for finance, head of department, you might be even a principal or any other job title, or a supervisor. What you need is what we call the technical skills. Now, when you talk of technical skills, we are talking of issues like knowledge of a particular discipline. So for you to be given a title, or to be given the post of a lower manager, you need the technical skills. Just the head of department of any program, you need technical skills as to say, what is it that I know in terms of teaching and learning? If it is in a manufacturing process, what is it that I know in this manufacturing of this product, the process of manufacturing? If it is at ESCOM and maybe I'm an engineer I'm an engineer, what is it that I know of electricity, right? And then looking at middle managers, the nature of their jobs do not require so much of, you need knowledge of technical, but you need mostly what we call interpersonal skills that involves dealing with people. Now, interpersonal skills, remember, you are meeting, you are always having meeting, networking, having workshops and the like. You need the ability to be able to talk to people, liaise with people. So one other expertise that is required here of a middle manager is interpersonal skills. The higher you go, again, you see that the skills that are required, they need something that is special. Now, looking at top management, top management requires conceptual skills. These conceptual skills involve analyzing, thinking, and planning. So you are no longer dealing with people, but what are you doing? You are analyzing as to what is happening in the environment. What impact does it have to my company? You are thinking. Planning, therefore, what should I do for me to be able to keep my company in position? So it needs somebody who sees the company on a bird's eye view. You need to be somebody who's on top of the company, seeing the company, being able to give an overview of the company. Now, one thing that is also very important is ensure that you understand the different skills that are required at different levels. That could be a very interesting question, even of any examiner. Now, since this topic is looking at the introduction of management, one thing that you need to understand is, what is this management? How did it come to be? How did management come into being? So there are so many theories that actually contribute to what we call the development of management theory. So the theory of management has developed over time. It is not something that has just woken up being here. It is not the 21st century thing, but it is something that has been there since time immemorial. So one thing that we need to look at now is, and that is important, is we need to understand that management started to be talked about in the 1900s, early 1900s, right? And this is when management started to be talked about as a profession. Now, there are so many theories which we call schools of thought on management. And they've been contributed by different academics, different people. And we actually group them into two. We have, number one, the one that we call the classical approach. And the classical approach looks at the scientific school, the management process, the human relations, the quantitative school, and then we also have another school which is called the contemporary Contemporary would mean the latest one. Contemporary. The contemporary approaches, this would include the contingency approach, right? And then strategic management. I'll just say Stratman. And then TQM. We have talked about it. We always hear people talking about it. And then learning organization and business re-engineering. And lately, this is one of the hottest topic of the season, that is diversity, right? Diversity. I really liked what so many South African authors have written about diversity, and it is something that we can really learn about. So for now, what I want us to do is this aspect, we shall also further look at it on our forum. But just to give an overview again, is that you discover that there are so many people that have contributed into management, and to say there was a time that people, the first thing that happened, that some of the first transactions in business were barter trade, whereby I'll bring something that I have, like I have a bag of rice. I'll meet you, maybe you've got a bag of beans. So what do? We would meet at a certain place and discuss terms of exchange and say, my rice is worth 2 bags of beans, so may I please have, if you agree, and then you can give me what? Beans. So that was the what? That was how businesses used to operate. But as time went on, people discovered that there is a great demand and a huge demand of certain products. Hence, people started to manufacture those products in bigger quantities, and people started to have industries. That is when you have in America the Industrial Revolution. If you have heard people talking of the Industrial Revolution has actually brought in a lot of things into business, and it has actually contributed so much into management. This is during the time for Industrial Revolution. We have this school, which is called the scientific school, whereby studies were held to study as to what is it that will take what time would take somebody to manufacture this, and how much am I able to award somebody in terms of monetary value. And from then develop the management process, the human relations approach, which said, okay, instead of treating human beings as tools, why can't we involve the human touch? Human beings, employees need something extra. And then there was also the quantitative school. The contemporary approaches looked at the strategic management, planning in ahead, quality, learning organization, saying that organization should never stop learning. And this is what we are seeing that is happening in our organizations today. We are ever coming up with new strategies, new ways of doing things. Why? Because we have learned that it is important for an organization to be a learning organization, and also business re-engineering, and also diversity. What is the impact of business working with different kind of people, people from different cultures, people from different backgrounds, people from different races? How has it been? How has it affected business? What improvement has it brought? What disadvantages has it brought to the business as a whole? So this particular topic is quite long. What I'll do is I've just drawn the major aspects that we need to be discussing. This one will definitely discuss this on our forum, and I'm expecting contributions to each and every one of us. So this will actually give us to the brings us to the end of learning unit 6, and we'll actually start with